Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 21st, 2021 at approximately 7:05 a.m. BST. Well, sorry about yesterday. Well, no, not really. Just life got in the way and I never got to it. By the time I realized what time it was, well, let's just say I couldn't get back into doing the video without being completely exhausted. So I went, no, not going to do that. Now, I've been having some interesting complications. I'm sitting here watching the world, and I literally refer to it as watching because, well, for obvious reasons, I haven't exactly gone out into the public very much lately. Like, not even unless you call the video public. Okay, the reality behind it is this world is a mess. And, without pointing, well, I guess technically I'm pointing fingers. It's everybody's doing it. It's not just the elites, just the religious leaders, just the teachers. It is literally everybody. And let's get away from the idea that it's some color, okay, or some nationality that's causing the problem. Simply put, everyone is responsible, myself included. I mean, if you think about it, now I've talked about the impact of energy on people before on the planet. Now, in all fairness, if I look in the mirror, I am not the happiest person I've ever run into. I may be one of the more miserable, although I keep it to myself. Well, not very well apparently. But I got accused one day of before I get into what I got accused of, and no, it was nothing illegal. Okay, the only thing I've ever been accused of doing something illegal was a speeding, which at the time I was doing. Okay, anyway, this is a live recording, meaning I will double check the date when I get finished, and then I will post it as is. All the quirks, the hiccups, the double backs, the pauses, the dead air, all of that, that's me. If you ever run into me in person, you'll find I talk the same way. Okay, now this said, okay, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, because it really is time to get down to business. Well, it was time to get down to business a long time ago. Okay, but the reality of it is, I returned to this world for one reason. Okay, and that one purpose is to spread a simple message to everyone in existence. That everyone, if when we work together, we can make this a better world for virtually all people. Now, the reality of it is, I've been watching this world, I've been watching the goings on here. And, sad to say, what I'm finding is people are not paying attention. Like, they're really not looking at what they're doing. Now, part of this is because people are living by the apparent belief it won't happen to me. This can be shown in many ways. But here's the thing. What is happening to everyone, okay, is this world is in trouble. Now, we are having floods. I'd love to say unprecedented, but they're not unprecedented. Okay, but we are having floods, as we unfortunately found out, mudslides. I don't get the news, so I find out a lot of things secondhand. Sad to say I know about them beforehand, but get confirmation about them after most people. Okay, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in years. But, okay, scientists backed this one up about 20 years ago. Okay, that negative energy will negatively affect the planet. And I've told people before, okay, if you don't start working with each other, if you don't start treating each other nicely, start putting out positive energy between people, as in minimize the negative, maximize the positive. If you continue to refuse to do this, I kept warning people that the planet will retaliate. Okay, people are worried about World War III. Well, I think it was said in World War II, and I don't know who said it, but I'm pretty certain that it was Churchill. Okay, I might be mistaken on who said it first. Okay, I'm winging it on that one. But the way it was put was World War One was fought with bullets. World War Two is being fought with bombs. We don't know what World War Three will be fought with, but World War Four will be fought with sticks and stones. And everybody's been talking about, oh, the Middle East is going to war, or China's getting geared to go to war, or everybody's getting geared to go to war. Bad news, people. World War III started. First volley was already hit. Mankind can try and take credit for it all it wants. First volley was hit. We got hit with COVID. Okay, we've been getting hit with regular diseases getting worse every year for the last 20 years. And then we get hit with COVID. People are still treating people like garbage. It's just that simple. And that negative energy is now reaching epic proportions. Forest fires are on the upswing. Storm severity is climbing. And now we have a massive mudslide up in the mountains that has wiped out an entire traffic line. As far as I understand, I'm hearing reports from 6 months to 6 years to get it back up and running. Now I'm no engineer, and I haven't even looked at the damage to get a handle on it. What I have looked at is the way people are treating each other, and it's everybody's fault, myself included. Okay, everybody's doing the same silly thing. You're looking to blame other people. Well, people, it's time to look in the mirror. Okay, it's time to really take a look and see what it is you're doing. Now, I'm going to start in a very controversial point. Okay, and I'm going to target in quite literally the so-called religious leaders. Now, the religious leaders, the spiritual guides, are, in my understanding, at least the way they promote themselves, supposed to be leading you to a better world. So, if that is the case, why, pray tell, are so many of the religious leaders and spiritual guides pointing to the idea of fear this person, this color, that religion? Why are you focusing on segregating people? When the fires happen, they don't care who you vote for. They don't care what color your skin is, and they sure don't care what shape your house is in. Okay, they don't get you to check. They don't check to see if your medical's paid up. They don't check and see if you had a vaccination for anything. They don't even care to check to see if you had breakfast this morning. But you spiritual leaders are turning around and you're promoting fear. And yes, I do mean you're promoting it. Okay, you've taken your religious tomes and said, this is reality, and then you butchered the tomes. Okay, now I know for an absolute certainty of some of them. The rest I can surmise because I watch what people are taught. Now, in all fairness to you people are taught. They are taught by their parents or by the society they grow up in. In any event, that set of parents or that society is only passing on what it's learned. And if we keep promoting the same thing, we're going to keep coming up with the same problem. And if you think the earthquakes are bad now, that's not where the problem is. Okay, mankind right now has relied on an incredible amount of technology, and technology is a great toy. But there's a saying that goes along with computers. Okay, garbage in, garbage out. If you spend your entire life paying attention to garbage, in other words, something that has no functional use, okay, yeah, it's a great escape. It really is. The reality is you sit in front of a computer, you sit in front of a gaming console, and you stare at it for hours at a time. Okay. And yeah, you get to escape. Guess what? People looking at the bottom of a bottle are looking for an escape. People looking at the end of a needle, at the end of a joint. People that are looking at just a simple line on a mirror. You're all looking for an escape. Okay. And the reality is, escapes are great in a short period. But if you escape everything for too long, things collapse. Now, I got accused, and I told you I was going to get back to this. I got accused some time ago by a number of people of trying to start a cult. And the reason they said it was a cult was because I was suggesting people be nice to each other. Well, for pity's sakes, let's see. Let's have a religion that promotes fear, that promotes violence, that promotes segregation. Okay, let's go with a religion like that and see where that leads you. Anybody remember the Middle Ages? Or remember reading about them? Because what you read about them is mild compared to what went on. Okay, so let's go down that road. Why don't we? Okay, how about if we continue promoting fear? Promoting what you won't have or what the world's going to be like. Let's look at the negative and only look at the negative. And if we're going to just look at the negative, let's stick to the videos, let's stick to the gaming consoles, and try and avoid everything. Okay. Now, the reality is everybody has in them, all of you have good and bad. And it was suggested that I was trying to start a cult. And I'm thinking, well, why not? Because the so-called cult I'm trying to start is this. 3 laws. Only 3. Not 10 that have been butchered, not 15 that have been made up. Nothing. Just 3. Take a look at the laws you're following. Okay, whatever they are. The 3 laws that I promote. And these are the only 3 laws I promote. Okay. Be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay. And there is one thing that I request. And call it a cult. I don't care. Call it a peanut butter sandwich. It will mean the same thing. William Shakespeare once said, he once said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Now, granted, he did not say it in English. Okay. But it doesn't change the veracity of what he was talking about. So, my understanding is this. Okay. Now, this whole idea of starting a cult. Am I going to ask you for money? Absolutely not. Okay. Am I going to turn money down? I'm not stupid. If people end up sending me money, certainly I'll take it if there's no strings attached. Okay. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Okay. I believe wholeheartedly in tithing. I absolutely do. And most religious tomes set the value of tithing at, not most religious tomes, most religious teachings set the value of tithing from what I've heard at 10%. Well, here's the reality. The churches claim to be taking care of the sick and the poor. That's what they're there for. That's what their icons promoted was take care of the sick, take care of the poor, take care of the children. Well, I'll tell you, for the number of religions that are out there and the number of temples and churches that are out there, as compared to the number of people that are on the street and starving to death, okay, and the amount of waste that is being propagated by the so-called advanced societies is absolutely appalling. I have not seen this much greed and debauchery since Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you're Christian, you'll know the reference. Okay. I get it. I was looking the other day and somebody made a beautiful point. They went, we were taught to fear the witches. Why weren't we taught to feel the people that were burning people alive for whatever reason? Okay. we are basically taught if people do not think exactly the same way, they're wrong. Okay. Did it ever occur to you that somewhere between what you know and what somebody else knows is reality? Now, that's the truth. The reality of it from my standpoint is this. Do I expect you to believe what I'm talking about? No, not at all. Hasn't happened in the length of time I've been here yet. At least not much. So I'm not expecting any real changes. But, and in all fairness, a lot of the reason I went down this road is I've spent the last couple of days really wound in a circle going, I'm watching the world go to heck in a handbasket all over in a handbasket all over again. And people are not getting the message. Okay, people are looking to blame somebody else. I heard somebody the other day flat out tell me that it was God that crushed the planet, that crushed the area with the landslide. It's an act of God when nature goes wild. And granted, hurricanes, tornadoes, you cannot point to one person and say it's your fault. You cannot point to a dozen families and go, it's those people's fault that the world is in chaos, that the finances of the world are a shambles. And you certainly can't blame somebody that's never even heard of you for spending your money too fast. That's your doing. Okay. So I'm told telling people this, being honest with people, telling people, grow up, start taking responsibility for your own life. Okay, for your own actions. And for pity's sakes, focus on the positive things. Minimize the negative. And, maximize the positive. Am I being wrong? Am I inciting a riot by telling you to be nice and put your weapons down and smile at people? Well, I'll tell you, if that's a cult, let's get at her and have a global one. And while we're at it, let's start a pandemic. Okay, that pandemic is simple. I look at the world out there with all these distractions, all these incredibly violent, incredibly creative video games. Okay, that are distracting people by showing violence. Now, to be clear, where it comes to violence, okay, there are I think there's three. There's a few places where, in my opinion, violence is acceptable. And the reason I say that is this. There is a positive side and a negative side to everybody, to everything. There's also a neutral side, making three sides in all things. Okay, so for those of you looking for a pyramid, great, you'll find one. Except pyramids have four sides. Okay, so calling it a pyramid scheme, well, if you're going to add a fourth side, you may have to. But everything is based on three. Okay, now when I'm talking a cult, number one, I'm not looking for handouts. I'm not looking for people to give me money. I'm not stupid. If somebody sends money without strings attached that I can put to use towards spreading this message that working together we can make this a better world for everyone, or for virtually everyone. Absolutely. And I'm not telling you who you should sit down, who you should go to church with, what temple you should get into. Go wherever you can find the emotional support. Okay, the family connection. Go wherever you feel like. But for pity's sakes, when you step out of that building or when you step out of your house, treat other people, regardless of where they're going, like you personally desire to be treated. Okay, this is the time, and it's either now or you may find out, like they did in Rome. Okay, 2,000 years ago in Rome. I remember past lives, and yeah, this may make me a lunatic in your eyes. Okay, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. The reality is this. I spent years seeing professional psychiatrists that humans have said these are the people trained to help people that are ill. I've spent years with them. One for 20 years straight, and two others I went to get assessed with. All three of them. And every psychologist, every psychiatrist I've talked to in passing has said the same thing. Clinically speaking, I am not nuts. I'm perfectly sane. I know exactly what I'm doing, exactly why I'm saying it. Okay. But these people are the ones that have told you basically to ignore the world. Okay. And if you continue ignoring the world, I got sidetracked there. I remember Rome. Okay, and I remember warning them if they didn't start treating people decently, they were going to have a revolt. Now, I didn't start the revolt, I just pointed it out. Okay, and in time, what ended up happening was people were continued to be taught treated like garbage. The people in so-called power, the people being treated like garbage were quite frankly giving the people in so-called power were treated like gods. Okay, and the net result was the Roman Empire collapsed. We saw the same thing happen in the different global company in global countries. Yeah, almost global. You take a look at Alexander the Great. You take a look at the Roman Empire. You take a look at Attila the Hun. Okay, and you take a look at the United States and Canada today, and we'll go with the United States. It is theoretically the leading city, leading country in the world. Okay, unless you look at China, who happen to outsize the states, from my understanding, by a whole lot of people. Now, I am not suggesting that we have, as a matter of fact, I'm flat out telling you, we require, absolutely, society requires different viewpoints to handle different situations. The people living, and I mentioned this before, the people living down in the equator have no clue about the problems that are faced by the people living in the Arctic Circle. No clue. And vice versa. So here's the thing. It is time to really wake up and go, okay, this is the way the world is. We have to have governments in order to run the world. You really do. There's too many people to leave it one-on-one. And for those of you that have this brilliant idea that overthrowing a government is going to make it work really well, find a copy of a book called Animal Farm. It's a short read for many people. I don't recall it being an overly big book, but I do recall it showed exactly what happens to people if you overthrow a government without thinking. Now, governments have flaws, absolutely. And to the people that are working in governments, realize you're people too. Okay, so when we talk about a cult, absolutely. Okay, I am saying it is time for everybody to get on board. It is time, as a matter of fact, it is way overdue time for people to get on board and start treating each other in a decent fashion. Do not go taking a strip off the poor people working in the grocery stores, on the front lines, okay, as first responders, as the police go. Do not turn around and treat them like garbage, because those are people too. They're going through the same things outside of their work, in all likelihood, that you are. Okay, and it's up to you whether or not you perpetuate this. It's not up to the elite, the people that have more money than you. It's not up to the people that are immigrating and getting things handed to them. I mean, frankly, if somebody comes along and hands me a brand new car for nothing, okay, I'm not going to turn them down. Don't like that. But, like I said, from my standpoint, it really boils down to this. If you're going to treat people poorly, this society, the way it is collapsing, and I did say collapsing, because in case you hadn't noticed, COVID didn't cause the problem. Okay, COVID itself caused the light to be turned Okay, only apparently it was a pretty dim bulb because people are still doing the same stupid thing they've been doing for decades. Okay, they are still treating each other really, really poorly and pointing the finger at everybody else. It's your fault. Okay. Now, it was pointed out very clearly to me yesterday. I made the comment I'm finding it harder and harder to get outside, to get motivated to get outside of the house. And it was pointed out very clearly to me and very accurately that it was my choice to stay inside more and more. And it absolutely is. It's a hard truth, but it's the reality. Okay. My biggest problem, of course, what people don't get, and if you're empathic, you'll understand this. The negativity out there is, for me, painful. Now, unfortunately, staying in my house doesn't stop that. Okay. So, if you want to call what I'm talking about doing called joining a cult, absolutely have a happy and call it what you will. Call it a tomato sandwich. I don't care. What I do care about is whether you get the message and whether you pass the message on that treating each other in a decent fashion, treating other people, regardless of who they are, treating them as you desire to be treated is imperative. No more so now than it was before. It just happens to have gotten to critical proportions. Okay. And what you're seeing right now, people are wondering when World War III is going to start. Well, it already started. Okay. And I'm going to say something that there's a staggering number of you out there that are going to look at me and say, you're completely off your nut. The problem with COVID itself ended about 6 months ago. Now, did the disease go away? Not at all. But then again, in all reality, other diseases didn't go away either. They went into remission, like people keep saying cancer goes into remission, which technically it does. Okay. But the principles that came to light with COVID were pretty blatantly obvious. Now, here's the problem. Okay. We're told stay away from people, drink warm liquids, but congregation can only be in certain controlled, decided on factors. But the people making these decisions, and we're seeing reports of it all over the place. Okay. And I mean, I liken it to hearing reports of UFOs. Most of them may not be true. But if even a fraction of these reports are accurate, then the people making the decisions and telling you stay away from people, wear a mask all the time, get this vaccine, make this happen. The people that are telling you this aren't following it, in as many cases as you may like to believe. Now, yeah, you might you may consider that causing a problem. But the other thing people are not doing is the people that are standing up in front of the churches, in front of the temples, in front of the covens and saying, be nice to people, aren't doing the same thing themselves. Okay, they really aren't. And it's up to you to go, okay, enough is enough. It's time for me to take responsibility for me. And if you want to call that joining a cult, have a happy and call it what you will. But let's get started on making this world a better world. Now, I'm still going to keep these to the half-hour mark. So, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.